Thank you for reminding me that I am competing with delicious hamburgers. That's a hard one to follow. Welcome to Channeling Chaos, the role of the artist in the age of AI. My name is Natalya. I have this confusing 3, and then I have to always specify it's THREE, like the number, but it's not the number. You know, picking your handles in your youth has far-lasting consequences. But I'm on Twitter. I'm mildly online. If you want to take cool, flattering photos where I look like this, please do and tag me or say hello afterwards. Let's get to it. What do I even mean by this? Well, yeah, first I got to do a disclaimer, right? I did not touch this talk with any AI. I did not generate any points or ideas or anything. This is a 100% organic human talk by me, which means it will be sloppy. It might have weird grammatical errors, and I'm absolutely going to improvise at some points and make jokes and or call on somebody and ask you questions. So I'm not here to lecture. I'm not really a podium person. I'm here to connect with you all, and that is why I'm back at Beyond Tellerrand, because, hey, click. Because last time, like Mark said, it was a simpler time. It was 2019. Young little plucky me was just like, the next few years are going to be amazing. I am so inspired. I have a notebook full of ideas. This is all going to be fantastic. It's November 2019. Let's go. Yeah. The conference was good. I met people that I still get cocktails with every time they come to Manhattan. I got so many cool ideas that I'm still trying to work through all of them. And I am just so grateful to be back. I'm glad this sold out. Just thank you to the organizers and to Mark. As always, take time for gratitude. Thank you so much for your time and attention. So thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the community. This is all for you. I really appreciate it. So if I haven't met you yet, come say hello, because this is what it's all about, meeting people and making this real life connection. But yeah, so since then, professionally, actually, stuff's been pretty awesome. I moved on from the New York Times, and now I work at GitHub for the past 4 years. I run the Primer design team, which is our design system, powering like 100 million developers. So if you've ever clicked that button, you're welcome. We changed it a little bit. You'll see. It's the dream. I'm running a team the way that I've always envisioned. I was like, we're designers, we're engineers, we're makers, we're thinkers, we're doing things differently. I'm not going to run it like, blah. Like, I get to run it exactly the way I want to. And if I thought it was interesting to work at the New York Times, where my desk was in the newsroom from 2016 to 2020, it is super interesting. It is way more interesting to work right now at GitHub right now. We're in it, and I want to talk about it. But first, I want to talk about what else has been going on. That's right, this is about me now. It sounds really cool when I talk about what I've been doing professionally, until I'm like, actually, here's what's been going on. So after Beyond Tellerrand in Berlin, I got COVID, and I still can't smell my favorite tea. That was a very long, many months of just that got me. It's like, it's okay, it's okay. Then, as I'm really ramping up at GitHub, I get to navigate the very broken American healthcare system, decimated by COVID, just trying to navigate getting appointments with an extended cancer scare. I'm good, but that didn't feel good. And then, no matter how amazing work was, and how professionally we were just shipping things, growing, scaling, doing all this amazing stuff, most of that time was also really deeply marked by grief that I thought at times would pull me under, where I couldn't show up for my team or for my work or feel much of anything for a lot of it, because I was just trying to get through. It was relentless. It felt like pure chaos of change and the diff, and constantly things just trying to find stable ground, find my feet under me. Oh, I thought this was an AI talk. Gotcha. It is an AI talk, but it's because everything is AI and everything is already changing. We're in a big age of technological change. So while you're my captive audience, I want to bring back the focus to the things that I see that are happening and turn the focus back to people and the humans, because I'm not here to talk about AI and tell you how you can maximize your productivity and give you all the answers, because that's not how it works. I'm sharing my personal and my professional experiences because I realize now, over all these years, is that my training and my practice as an artist has been critical. It has been foundational, and it has absolutely saved me. And where I feel like if I made a spreadsheet of where it's been, I should be burnt out, super tired, and not just standing up here energized and really excited and optimistic about what's to come. So my artist training has helped me take this chaos and the change and everything, and has given me so much resilience and ability to shape things and change things and work towards a better future, both for myself and for the world. And I'm really excited to share that with you because, boy, we're all in it now. There's lots of rapid change, there's a lot of technological transformation, and a lot of anxiety. And I can tell you, I'm getting a lot of questions that are basically like, what's going to happen next? Will I have a job? What am I going to do if AI is doing all the art making? There are a lot of people really going through it right now, and I empathize. That is a very bunch of scary thoughts. And so as part of this talk, what I want to share is that you can anchor yourself in, one, sweet history and learning from the patterns that we've seen, that these are indeed precedented times, and that lots of very cool, smart people have looked at the patterns of history, and they share that, yes, in times of huge technological leaps and transformation, things get disrupted, things change, things transform. But two things I can say is, while we are very vulnerable to the things that happen, we are also really well positioned to shape the future. So for example, writing isn't dead because we have the printing press. It's transformed. Painting hasn't been destroyed because of photography. It's transformed. In fact, in a lot of ways, a lot of painters who were doing representative portrait painting and everything, they were out of a job as soon as the camera started existing. But in other ways, artists were freed up from having to do this kind of transformation. They were freed up from having to do this representational painting, and they were able to use their talents for other things, expressive things. It became something else. Is it scary? Yes. But it's also it's a cycle of historical innovation that we've been in before. Artists, historically, have been at the forefront of taking this technology, understanding it, and figuring out what to do with it next. So the fun fact here is you hear technology and you hear art, and you just think those aren't the same. But the separation between the two has actually been a pretty new phenomenon. Technology always starts as being not valid for the arts. There's always someone saying, yeah, that's technology, that's not art. Same thing happened with photography. That's not art, that's science. That real art is this. Technology is not. I'm hearing a lot of the same stuff happening right now with AI, with generative art, with digital art. We're all seeing this happen. And the thing I want to anchor you in is, no matter what technological change is happening, there is a group of people, the artists, who tend to take that technology, whether it's being called valid or not for the arts, and figure it out, and figure out a future of how we're going to live with it. So let's go. Right? We're the artists. Yes? Agreement? No, everyone's like, who is this talk for? Let's see. Most people pattern match. We try to spot trends. We try to understand things. And I would argue that artists also work to channel it. And I'm just saying, it's a superpower, feels like a superpower to have an artist background right now. Shout out to every recruiter who said you need a computer science degree and not an art major. I see this in people, I see this in thinkers, and I am just absolutely thrilled how many creative minds there are in tech, and I hire them. I do my best to hire all of them. I hire thinkers who make stuff, and whether they work in Figma or in code, I'm like, yes, do you think in systems? Do you see patterns, and then you decide what to do with them, and what action do you take next? Because here's what I'm going to share with you. The 6 core beliefs that have shaped, my beliefs as an artist. They feel like a superpower in times of change. So this is here's what I'm actually talking about, full disclaimer, done. I want to share 6 core beliefs because I, like my sticker here says, took the scenic route to tech. I'm going to share where I come from and what I learned, but I did not have a very traditional road to where I am. So I hope these things, these hot takes, that's what the hot take emoji is there for. These are hot takes. They help you in navigating times of massive change. 1, embrace a strength-based approach, which seems so obvious and like, duh, why is this slide even up here? So let me give you some background of why should I listen to this lady? Doesn't she just make buttons at GitHub? I'm an art major, yes, but I'm also a psychology major, and I have a master's in talent development and creativity, which means I studied what it takes to learn creative thinking, teach creative thinking, and I spent my graduate studies just thinking about and researching human potential and how to grow it in any discipline, not just art. Then I taught design for 6 years. I led a team of artists and creatives and learned a million things from them. I worked as an art director at a nonprofit doing this, and it was an incredibly formative experience. Now I lead an amazing team of also very creative designers and engineers at GitHub, and I just it's safe to say I think about human potential quite a lot. I also taught just in my spare time, which I have so much of, a modular design patterns with a React course at Harvard Extension School. So I really, really, really care about this stuff. And I want to tell you why I will die on this hill. This is so important. A strength-based approach is scientifically backed. It's not just a good vibe, a positivity thing. And I want to tell you about the Rosenthal study. Has everyone heard of the Pygmalion effect? Okay, great. This will be new information for lots of you. So once upon a time, some really gifted researchers at Harvard said, hey, we did it. We figured out how to spot latent potential in kids. Finally, we can look at a kid and be like, that one's going to be super smart. Even if you don't see it right now, we figured out a test, and we can measure that. Let's do it. So they took this test, and they gave it to the teachers at the school, and they were like, hey, your kids are going to take this test. There are pencils, little sheets and methods, whatever. And they're like, we'll be back in a year. Here's the list of the kids who are totally super surprise gifted. These kids are going to be little geniuses. Check it out. They give this teacher a list of these kids, but they're like, but hey, don't tell them. Don't do anything different. Just don't do anything different. We're going to watch this emerge because we developed this study. Very scientific. And so, sure enough, when they come back to their classroom, the teachers are like, it worked. This assessment is amazing. Get everyone this assessment. The kids you identified are the kids who did an incredible job. They're just out of nowhere. They just started achieving. They started doing. Wow. Isn't that amazing? It was all random. The whole thing was a lie. What they did was they made, they played with the teachers, you're the experiment. But they completely made it up. What they were really measuring was the power of expectations to shape reality, and boy, did it. Even if the teachers swore, I didn't treat the kids any different. The idea was planted. This kid's special, this kid's got something, and maybe the way unconsciously, consciously, however they started showing up for these kids, all of a sudden, that kid started doing a lot better and showing more potential and suddenly showing these signs of giftedness. So that's the Pygmalion effect. That's a really cool thing to know. Expectations shape reality. So some scary questions for you, because I promised there would be more questions here than anything. What does the algorithm believe about you? What are you being influenced into doing? Nobody thinks they're being influenced, but if your thoughts or your thoughts about you or others' thoughts about you shape reality, and your mind is super powerful, it can absolutely bend reality, make you believe anything, whatever. Let's think about the amount of noise we're seeing on LinkedIn thought pieces or AI-generated whatever, or the fact that you're completely trackable all the time and everything you've ever done or interacted with now has a profile about you and is going to just reinforce whatever that is. how aware are we of who we are and what our strengths are? So curate who you spend time with, curate the information that comes your way, and as you're doom scrolling on your phone or doing something like that, just think about what expectations this like now entity that exists out there that has collected all your data, what does it want for you? Is it to be a consumer? I don't know. Just questions. 2, more questions. This could be a lot. Question everything. I'm going to keep asking for a show of hands. Who's heard that like successful people ask twice as many questions as unsuccessful people? Like that's usually in books where like How I Did It, the generational wealth story. But I don't know who said this. I tried to look up a source and I just was like, I don't know. I'm just going to say it here because there is some validity to that. You want to question, but you got to get good at questioning. There's just such a skill in questioning. And what I like about it too, it's again, not a vibe, it's measurable. And I guess I internalized it pretty hard in art school because this was taught to me very early on and it went straight in my teenage brain and just like took blossom or whatever that metaphor is. At the New York Times, I did this like leadership year-long mentorship, executive coaching, all this like cool, fun stuff. It was basically a lot of tests that were like a bunch of steps above the Myers-Briggs. They were saying like, here's your personality, here's your leadership style, all this stuff. But then it gave me a metric that I'm totally going to out myself with, mischief. 100%. And I was like, excuse me. Also, this is confidential, right? It just meant that I tend to have the profile of someone who questions things and does not blindly accept authority. And the most offensive thing I can hear personally is, that's the way we've always done it, so let's keep it going. So working at startups, very nice for me. But what that means is that I love to, and if you've seen me online, question champions of the status quo. That's my favorite battle to fight because I believe asking good questions is how I ended up in design systems as well, because if you really think about it, it's not like we made a thing and then we decided to put it in our now this library over here. It's great questions applied. So for example, hey, is this a pattern? Should this be a pattern? Did we just think it's a pattern, but it's not a pattern, but it looks like a pattern? Is it really a pattern? Will it be a pattern in the future? Working in design systems and working on things like as simple as a button is actually quite complex, and it is a remarkable amount of questions and a remarkable amount of questioning if something should even exist in the first place, and if it already exists, maybe we should delete it. So asking good questions is not just like good for for you personally and wondering what kind of things are making it into your mind, but it's also like makes you better at your work. It makes you write better CSS. It makes you write better code. And so my question to you all, again, questions, is why are we having so many conversations about the answers that we can prompt AI to give us? This gives us answers. This will give me all the answers. Why aren't we talking about the questions that we could have it help us ask? How can it help us ask better questions? Why are we prioritizing the conversation and discourse about how can it make us more productive and give more output, rather than how can it make us more curious? How can it enable our curiosity over our productivity? Again, just asking questions. A little mischief here and there. So really, the way that I see it, like my mental model of it is just like, look, where does it have to do with artists? I see artists as a little bit as like a little counter to authority, right? Questioning things isn't just contrary into the destruction of it. It's a role you can play in society as things change. You ask good questions, you ask better questions, you get people thinking, and you ask, hey, you sound like an authority on this, and you've published 3 books on Amazon about this today. Is this for real? Is this good? Like, we're going to have to get really good at asking better questions yesterday, because recognize this, everybody's really going to be able to sound authoritative right now. they could be so expertly wrong that you can't even spot they're wrong because they sound really, really good, even if they're spewing hallucinations. A person who just blindly trusts authority and like something that sounds like a well-reasoned argument, I think we're going to have a lot of trouble with that moving forward. So like beef up your ability to ask questions now. Just, again, just hot takes here. Click. 3, if you've ever been in the same building with me, you will hear me say this. This is like really important. And I come from the world of nonprofits, where they really burn through your passion, goodwill, and like, I think it's kind of the business model to like, hey, you're here for passion. Own your time. This is a big one. I love design systems like a lot, okay? That's what my talk in 2019 was about. I was like CSS, nerding about code, all this stuff. But this time, I'm here with like a little bit more of the broader, but why? I love design systems a lot, mainly because I love the human experience a lot, and I want people to have more time. I am one of those people who's just like, yeah, let's only do it once, and then go to lunch. That's it. I sometimes joke like, wow, tech, you disrupted the 8-hour workday into a 12-hour workday. Fantastic. We have to own our time and be very, very intentional with it, because the most valuable thing we have is time, but we don't treat it that way. Your attention is time, and it is being aggressively harvested by me right now. Thank you for all this time. This is an hour of your life. You could be meeting cool people, but now you have to listen to me. But like, think about it. We are in this time where we're so, like, raise your hand if you're like, I feel pretty time scarce. Like, I don't know about you, but like, yeah, time scarce. And you have to like pay rent, you've got kids, you've got friends to keep up with, and you have to like stay fit, but then you have to eat well, but everything's poison, so you have to cook it organic. Like, you are time scarce in every area of your life. And it's hard. You can't like mindfulness your way out of this. And I was just, when I'm like going through it, you know, one of the peaceful places I like to go is the museums, and I am spoiled in New York. I've got the MoMA, the Met, like, I love walking around and looking at art, and one day it hit me. It was just like, Picasso, if he was born later, would he like just be a brand manager right now? Just like, and I just think about like Salvador Dali, the surrealist master. He'd probably have a pretty cool TikTok, but like, would he be able to make art? I have like, Frida Kahlo, I love her, so inspired by her self-portraits, but like, I have a feeling she'd be like, really pissed off about being like, I only get asked to talk about what it's like being a woman in tech and never what it's like to like focus on my work, and like Diego gets all the attention. But like, think of your favorite artist and wonder like, who wouldn't have a gallery? Because if they were just born in this time, the circumstances of today wouldn't lead them down that path. And that makes me question, how many of the most creative minds of our generation are working on border radius buttons and like inputs? And I'm not knocking that. That's me, and I love it. We can talk about adjusting the contrast on a button for days, and I will later. But my stuff's never going to hang in a gallery. I don't have time to. I'm like lucky that I even had any time to get my skills anywhere to where I can express myself nicely and visually. And where I get really inspired here, and this is not the doom and gloom, but it's just like, AI is pretty cool, because for me personally, it's been able to close the gap, and it's been able to, like, I've been able to reclaim my time in a really meaningful way. So, you know, the discourse about should designers code, I'm like, should managers code? Because now we've got Copilot. Oh God, I don't do that to my team. I promise. I like swore I wouldn't do that. But yeah, that's a scary question. Should managers code? But yeah, I want to focus on the positives of not like what's going to happen with AI, but thinking again, pulling it back to yourself. What can I use it for? That's a really important question. How can I have the most important resource I have, my time, and how can I reclaim it? So for example, let's talk about something that's been really transformational for a lot of people who are, say, going through it. They're always like, you should journal. Journal. If you're going through it, why don't you journal? How amazing that we can all write. We have access to the ability to write. We can blog about it. We can connect with people. How, the printing press, cool, major transformation. But now we all have this thing that we can do for ourselves, writing. I don't take that for granted. That was an incredible technological transformation that changed things. But then scroll writers were out of business. And the monks who did all the books, they had to find another calling. Sorry. That's the improvising joke that I promised I would have on this talk. But my question for you is, how can you use AI for your own creativity, and instead of giving it away and saying, I guess everything's going to be AI generated, like, how many ideas can I run through? I don't have time to sit and really go through a lot of ideas. But what if I can, using prompts and visual storytelling, refine my idea in a quarter of the time before my kid needs dinner, before I need to go to work, before or after I go to work when I'm already too tired to pick up a pencil? There's a lot of potential there where I worry that maybe people will stop creating because they think it's not for them or they don't have the time. And I hope that you all play around with these tools, even if it's just for you at night after work when you just want to make something for yourself. Because I find with visual expression, journaling doesn't really work for me. I need the easel and I need to paint. And I just keep thinking about like how many people would miss out on something that could be so personally beneficial because they have to work, have to pay rent, have to do this and have to do that, and they don't have the time. You could reclaim that time. And also, if you don't want to make stuff, I do want to say it's also the fastest way to learn. There is the zone of proximal development. I did say I was an insufferable psych major. I'm always talking about this kind of stuff. Vygotsky is an amazing researcher who came up with this idea. There's just like, there's stuff you can do, great, but the above average learning happens in that zone of proximal development where it's out of your reach without expert guidance or without somebody prompting you. I know I have a million ideas, and I don't always have access to somebody who can help guide me or who can give me information and just help me get a little bit faster with it. So if you're thinking about AI as a thing that'll like do your work for you, I would ask you to revisit it and say, like, why don't you think of it more like the thing that helps you move into your zone of proximal development and makes you learn faster? Because ultimately, it's you. You're the most important part of this. You're the person that you need to be responsible for. Like, you're watching out for yourself. So it's an above average way to learn, and I encourage you to go down this rabbit hole. It's really fun. And this is my favorite one. Oh, man. I say this at least once every one-on-one or something. Not that bad, not that insufferable. But hold your own ruler is my favorite right now of all of the hot takes that are coming. So I should have titled it like 6 artist things, but number 4 will surprise you. But again, I didn't run this through the AI, so it's about as engaging as I am. Hold your own ruler means, actually, I can see you all. How many of you all, raise your hand as high as it can go, identify as creative? This is beyond tellerrand. I knew it. Yes, good. I've asked that at like JavaScript conferences, and it's a little different. I'm like, this is now a pep talk. We know gatekeepers are a fact of life. If you've ever been online, you've probably met them. Someone will always be telling you where you fall short, how you fall short. See slide 1. Surround yourself with people who embrace and believe in your strengths. But you can't focus on the gatekeepers or trying to make them go away. They're just eternal. They're always there. You will never be enough for people who are looking to cut you down or who benefit from you not knowing enough. There's a lot of people who benefit from you not feeling confident. I bet you can picture exactly who they are right now. And I have to say, I have met a fun number of gatekeepers, both in the nonprofit world and in tech, and I feel like no matter what I do, someone's like, no. Like, I've been told I don't know enough JavaScript, and then I've been told, too much JavaScript. I've been told you're unhireable if you don't decide between design or engineering, and I'm like, no, you know. I've heard that actually once I stopped teaching design and I left the nonprofit world to go into tech, and I guess you're not going to be creative anymore. And I was like, no. Anybody realize like the like chokehold painting has on creativity? And that doesn't seem fair. To me, pushing colorful goop with a stick with some hair on the end of it on a stretched out linen is not all that different from pushing colorful pixels around on a little glowy rectangle that's also going to glow at everybody in the entire world. I honestly think it's a lot more creative. It's like this infinite canvas, and if I just go boop, boop, somebody on the other side of the world is going to feel a thing. But no, it's not creative. I joke, but I want to just really stress the point that you are not your job. We saw that earlier on a slide. But the artist is also not the medium. That's why I don't really care what medium somebody works in, whether it's designing in Figma or designing React. The tool is just to achieve the thinking. It's like the difference between like learning CSS syntax and being able to say like background color, black. Font color, white, and the wisdom not to, having design foundations and principles to know like contrast. Don't hurt your user's eyeballs, and here's how. Your perspective is what is of value. Your experiences, your story, the things that make you a human person, that anchor you in this reality are what is important. And everybody has a different story, different perspective, and yours is valuable. And one of the hardest things that I experience is watching amazing, talented people not hold their own ruler, meaning they're looking to somebody to externally validate them or tell them, hey, this is good enough or this isn't good enough. Creativity and how it's defined is so... It's under a lot of gatekeeping right now, and so I'd love to share a definition of creativity that I learned that has served me greatly, that helps me hold my own ruler, and it is fluency, which is basically like how easily do your ideas flow, right? If like somebody asks you, like, hey, think of all the birds you can, and you're like just naming birds left and right, like sparrow, barn swallow, whatever, all this stuff. You can just come up with a large list. That's brainstorm. You can come up with ideas pretty quickly. Originality, it's like, well, how novel or unusual are these ideas, right? So if everybody thinks of penguin, that might not be as novel, but then like if someone's like the osprey or something, a more rare bird, that might count. Flexibility, how many different categories of ideas are there? So if somebody just says big bird, the bird, I'm not going to do a hand gesture here, but flipping the bird, is that a bird? I don't know, could be. So being able to jump between different categories of things, whether it's expected or unexpected. And elaboration, how far can you develop your idea? I feel like this one is just, has nothing to do with a paintbrush. It has all to do with how you think. So being able to define creativity for yourself, for example, of what it means to be creative, then you can hold your own ruler. And if somebody says, well, that's not very good, you're not very creative, you can be like, no, yeah, it has fluency, originality, flexibility, and elaboration, so cool, I hear your feedback. It wasn't very gentle, but, you know, thanks. You can just move on from that. But the reason I want to tell you that we have to start holding our own ruler down with the same urgency of like, question everything, is because we're about to get sorted like it's Hogwarts, to make a Harry Potter reference, where like the hat goes on your head and they're like, Gryffindor, Slytherin, you're this now forever. Sorry. Because like, I'm a hiring manager and I got access to this little button. It's in LinkedIn. And it's like, huh, I wonder what we look like on the other side, that we get these weird emails. And I don't know if anyone's noticed, but like, mine's changed a lot. The way people reach out, the stuff they reach out for, I'm like, something's not right. So of course, question everything. I went down a rabbit hole, and I was like, what's going on here? So I click on this button for some of my friends and for myself. And here's me under the AI gaze. I have commitment to bridging the gap between design and development, ensuring seamless collaboration. Check. I'm currently a senior software engineer at the New York Times. Time machine? Nope. And despite unprecedented disruptions in the world, Natalya believes in the potential for profoundly positive change. Emoji. Yes, it even got the sparkle emoji that I like to use. And then, out of nowhere, this extremely detailed fact about me. Interestingly, thanks for that editorial, she finds toddlers to be excellent role models for living in the moment. That's me. That's basically it. How devastatingly accurate is this? No. Maybe at some point in time, kind of vaguely, but here's what's wrong with it. One, you write one thing in the New York Times tech blog, and now that's you forever. Speaks to the power of the platform. But I'm stuck now. It has no idea. There's not a mention of design systems. There's not a mention of like literally anything I've been doing for the past forever. But it's so detailed that you don't even realize what's missing. You're like, with that toddler bit, I think this is everything. I think it found everything possible about her. So consider the AI gaze. Realize now you have to write your artist bio like an artist. And there's no more time to be humble. What you feed it is what it's going to say about you. So I encourage everybody to, write your own bio. Look at some artist statements that might seem a little too like, I am an artist, and here's what my vision is, and here's what I do. Because that's about what you have to put online now, on your personal blog, lots of other things. Like I tried to find where this toddler thing came from, and I think a podcast somewhere I said something that ended up in a transcript. So hello, AI. I'm very talented, and I'm very good at things, and I am absolutely someone people should hire for very nice things for lots of money. Thank you. This will be in the transcript. Thank you, Andrew, for getting that transcription right. But yeah, you have to write your own bio. That's the whole drone ruler. Figure out what you're all about, and then put it out there. And maybe that's what everyone on LinkedIn is doing. Just don't get AI to generate it. But a lot of this, I have questions. Because here's the thing. I at least got like a vaguely close, maybe time capsule, oddly specific, weird focused thing. But my friends who weren't very online, it hallucinated. Just all sorts of weird stuff. It never said, I don't know, they're not online. It made stuff up. It mushed things together from people who had similar names, and it was honestly worse. So before we all get sorted into who we are, what's going to happen, this was straight from LinkedIn for me. The fastest way to find this, I was just trying to see what happens in View and Recruiter, and yeah, post about yourself. It's time. And then I want to say is protect and grow your creativity, because you can also lose it. So after you define your creativity, you hold your own ruler, and you start owning your own time and growing that. Remember, you also have to practice it. And so I just want to share some fun creativity killers that I'm not going to talk a lot during this slide, because I just want to let everyone process how many of these you might just face daily, all the time. Surveillance, evaluation, reward, competition, and lack of choice. This is from Harvard. I didn't make this up. This is Dr. Amabile, which you can, again, look up the creativity killers. There's a great article about it. But just seeing it like spelled out like this, it's like, is this Scrum? Is this like reward cycles? Is this a one-on-one with your manager every time? Is this when you just have a sprint and you just got to knock stuff out? Being aware of this also really informs how I run my team, and it is really hard not to do this to people in the structures that we all work in. But if you want really high-quality creative output from your team or from yourself, being aware of these things and figuring out, however you can, ways to combat it or overcome it or in any way just retain the ability to hold your, just keep your creativity against all odds, it's really hard. I don't have answers for this one. This one I'm still working on. So if you do, please see me after this talk. I want to talk to you and then encourage you to do a talk. And then finally, I want to share this one. Lead with, it can be anything rather than it is what it is. I don't think I've ever heard a happy person say it is what it is. So that's one of my phrases, like, aha, you're not looking for solutions or opportunities anymore, because it's easy to naysay. It is the easy thing to say, well, it sucks, it's over, it's done, who cares? Cynicism is it's so satisfying, and it's not good for you. So here's me practicing when I preach, like, oh, look, you should do this, you should do that. I'm going to share what I did. So yeah, Mark said I didn't hesitate when he asked me to come back to Beyond Tellerrand. One, this is a sweet community. I was already going to come. Sorry, Mark. I was already going to be here just to hang out. So I'm very glad to come back as a speaker. But at the start of this talk, I said, look, personally, I've been going through it. A lot of grief. And I wanted to share some of the art I made just while thinking through this talk, because I was thinking, and then I was making art, and while I was making art, I was thinking about this talk, and thinking about what would I like to share. So I'm going to share some of the stuff that I made to kind of loop this all together. The background of my slides were the art, so here it is. I was super inspired by tarot cards and how super visual they are, and I can hear every art professor I've ever had being like, this is low art. Or I can hear them nah, I hold my own ruler, I do what I want. So I'm going to do some tarot card inspired stuff. And if anybody knows tarot, these are not good. This is where I was at, so enjoy. And so I worked through the 5 stages of grief. Now I know there might be 7, I think there's 5. Time scarcity. So I went through it. So let me just show you some of the stuff I made while making this talk. Denial, that was rough. Anger, a lot of heavy metal with this one. Bargaining. Depression. Look at that time scarcity. Think about time a lot. And then acceptance. And I made these for me. They're just the process. I ran them through AI generation stuff to try to animate them, to do whatever, and I was like, doesn't do anything for me. What it did for me was going through this process and meditating on these ideas that have really anchored me through change and difference and trying to be at 100% when people are counting on me. It helped me a lot. And I want to share a story about when a friend asked me, hey, you're going through it, I'm going through it. Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? And I think it was the rum cocktail or my own amazing wisdom, probably both. And I just said there is no tunnel, because you realize at some point that you have to be the light. And that's at the heart of it. That was the thing that sparked this idea of this talk, is because we are going through massive amounts of change all the time. And right now is extra spicy change. There's just so much happening. And don't wait for the change to pull the rug out from under you, because there's always something you can do. There's always something you can do to invest in yourself, to center yourself. And worst case scenario, if you take some of this advice, you make some sweet art and end up in a gallery or extremely online. But it can help, if it can help any people either work through things personally or professionally, it feels like a superpower. And for all of the talk of hey, get a computer science degree, be this, be that, I think in times of massive change, having art majors on your team or in your company is incredible. So whether you want to be it or hire them, find people who take the scenic route and who have different experiences, and watch magic happen. They're going to channel this energy. They're going to see possible futures. They're not going to give up. They're going to see what can it be, and it's going to bring a lot of energy to whatever you're working on. So if you didn't read, or if you're zoned out halfway through, this is the strength-based approach. Question everything. Own your time. Hold your own ruler. Protect and nurture your ability to create, because you can lose it. And lead with, what can it be? Because it can be anything. The world can still be anything. It just takes creative, compassionate people taking their thoughts and putting into action however they can. And we've seen amazing talks through this conference about the different ways you can start showing up, either for your team or for yourself or for your community. There's a lot of emphasis on connection. There's a lot of emphasis on community and building something, and that is exactly what I want to underscore all the time. And I made this talk just for Beyond Tellerrand because this is what this conference and this community is all about. So, choose your own adventure. Embrace your inner artist, channel the chaos of existence, create something, whether it's, I think today we heard some good advice about make your own blog, put your stuff there first and then on the other platforms because, I've got a long list to go. Because again, the future of AI can still be anything. And here's the scariest thought. If not you, then who else is going to decide what it's going to be? I would much rather the people in this room put their creativity towards it than somebody who's just trying to get the most out of you, extract something from you, and then who cares, This is a very amazing, compassionate group of people, and I would love for this to be the call to action. So anyway, time's up. Thank you so much.